month is going to get posted on YouTube as a public one, so anybody will be able to see it that comes. If you want to talk about something that you feel shouldn't be available publicly, let me know and I'll pause the recording. I've got a dog being annoying here. Yeah. All right. One of the things that I want to tell you, James, that come to mind from your talking is that what I don't know how to quite put this. A generalization is that when I guide, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to teach people the difference between what is conceptual and what is actual. Go away. Go away. Go away. Go on. Go away. Good girl. Okay, so chair is conceptual. Bum is conceptual. Heart is conceptual. None of them are actual. What they are words that we use to describe a complexity of things, quite reasonably so for communication purposes. But when we come back to what is actual, and I use the word actual rather than the word real, because real's a shitty word that everybody's got a different idea about. What is actual is, unless you look, there is no chair. And when you feel a sensation, what you've got is a sensation. And how does that sensation in your bum, but by the way, bum is also conceptual, how do you know it's a chair? You remember things. Again, it's your mind telling you that this thing that you're sitting on, we call a chair. But your actual experience says nothing about a chair. Your actual experience says something only about a sensation. And that sensation, this is a big one, that sensation contains no information whatsoever.
I hadn't heard that before.
Well, look, don't ever believe anything I say. Check it out.
Yep.
So here's a good one, another one, a meme. A feeling is a sensation plus a story.
Yep.
Right, so that feeling in your bum has got stories attached to it. The sensation has got stories attached to it.
Yep. See, what this all does for me, again, if it was possible to strip away all the words, all the labels, yeah, and somehow we could communicate our sensations to each other. Yep. I understand we can't do that, but say we could, yeah, and you can, make me understand and feel your sensations, and I could feel yours, yeah. What seems to be the crux of this for me is that at some point, people make the breakthrough, whatever's the right word. They go through the gate that isn't the gate. They have the seeing, whatever's the right language. And I'm just, like I said, you said before, when I'm waiting for the outcome, yes, I'm just literally waiting for that to happen. I can't disagree with anything you're saying. Yeah. In fact, I agree. Like, I've realized that I don't control any of my thoughts. So basically my life is happening to me. Yeah. Or it happens to this mind body.
Yeah.
Get all of that. intellectually have no issues with any of the things that are brought up. But for slightly blaspheming, Jesus Christ, I wish I could break through whatever it is I need to break through, you know.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, just an aside, blaspheme all you like here. I don't fucking care, right?
Good man.
Yeah, we don't know what wakes people up. Nobody knows. Okay. Gee, I was a seeker for 43 years, an active seeker, looking. Yeah. And then when it happened, one sentence, a bloke told me one sentence, and that just changed my world. Yeah? What I say is there are certain conditions required to be present and to be aligned for waking up to happen. But we don't know what those conditions are. So we just poke the bear until it happens. For some people it happens, and for some people it doesn't. If you never wake up, if nothing changes for you in that way, can you live with that?
Well, I am now, so I would continue to do so. I'd rather not, though.
Of course. I'd rather be able to eat ice cream every day and not fat. But
yeah.
Yeah.
No, keep poking. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hello, everybody. Yeah, great. So, yeah, a lot of new people here today, and a few I've seen before. So welcome, and just to formalize it, there are no rules. Oh well, there are things that I prefer and things that I wouldn't prefer, but basically no rules at all. You don't need to put your hand up and ask to talk. Just jump in when there's an opportunity. Don't philosophize too much. It's not a rule, but it's a preference. Keep what you're talking about relative to your own experience. That way we'll get some value out of it. Alan over here is a good, accomplished guide. And all the rest of us are here to discover things. Well, Alan is too, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Every one of you will say something that will be helpful to someone else. Believe me, there'll be people that'll see the video that we never even know about. But every month, every week, I get feedback from people who have looked at it and go, that was really helpful. So don't hold back. Your experience, somebody will relate it to it. Yeah. Yeah. So without taking up too much time, just fairly briefly, can you hear me, Brian?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
Just tell us where you're up to. You look like you're watching a comedy on TV.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So what seems to be happening here is just like I finished up with my guide, and yeah, there's just like seemingly a dropping of the self, so which I don't understand at all, and what's still happening is there's conditioning and social anxiety and, you know, just awkward things that feel like are still in the body, and like a wanting to resolve it, or um yeah, just
Right.
wanting I don't know.
That's good. That's good. Excellent. And Paul's another accomplished guide, so make use of him to. Liz, tell us where you're up to.
I'm in evidence. I've been I read Liberation Unleashed for the second time a few weeks ago. I must have been ready the first time.
Hang on,
because
Liz.
I went on.
There's something wrong with your audio.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's very bassy and very quiet.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me beside that?
That's better. Yep. Thank you.
Ah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Very new. Read Liberation Unleashed for the second time a couple of weeks ago. I read it the first time last year, and I mustn't have been ready. And I went off and read and researched other things, including Jed McKenna, which Alona recommended in the book, and loved that. Anyway, I heard her do an interview on Batgap, and that brought her back into my mind again. So I read Liberation Unleashed again a couple of weeks ago, and as soon as I'd finished it, I knew I was ready to go.
Right.
I registered for a guide and got one, and I've been working with Stacey now for 3 weeks.
Excellent. Good stuff. Stacey will sock it to you, no doubt at all.
Yeah, I'm getting that impression. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's brilliant.
She's very good. Yeah. Kristen? Is that how you say it? Kristen?
Sorry, didn't know how to unmute there. Yes, that's how you say it, Kristen. Mm-hmm.
Tell us where you're up to.
Let's see. I've been doing emotional repression work for a year, and then I got this, and before that, like kind of non-duality leading to radical non-duality, leading to a total meltdown, that led to stepping into this emotional repression kind of work. And then through that, I was introduced to like this non-dualing A Course in Miracles speaker. Yeah. And this pointing for me and also I also just kind of feeling like, gosh, this repression work, I don't know if it's reifying identity. You know, somehow I'm misusing it. I'm not, something's going here that just like tired of all these questions, this kind of inquiry, and then then I found out about fetters, and simultaneously Course in Miracles, this particular speaker, and the pointings are just so much more direct, and I'm not routing everything like through emotion and repressed emotion and digging and digging and digging. I think all that digging was like oddly obscuring the very thing that is just like right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I don't know. I can't tell you, like, was I misapplying it, or, you know, what was going there. I just am happy that I'm here, looking from a different angle, I guess it seems. Yep. And it's just like, music to my ears.
Great, good stuff. Tell me, when you said when you had a total meltdown, what was that?
Oh, so what happened there was nothing was getting better. I wasn't like, I somehow was now being drawn to radical non-duality from non-duality, and nothing was getting better. Like I felt anxiety constantly. Oh. And so it just felt like, okay, I'm going to die. I'm going to need to try something different. And this something different thing
Okay, okay. So you didn't
You
end up
know.
in the psych ward.
Right. No, I ended up just doing like this all in emotional repression work, which seems to have been helpful. And it's, yeah, maybe it's just reached the end of its,
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, something like this. Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. For everybody else's benefit as well. I mean, I'm a little familiar with the rest of you. Bianca, tell us where you're up to at the moment.
I've listened to the first lesson by Pernille.
Panilla, yeah.
I'm not Pernille. And I had so many questions, so I listened to 4 lessons, all of the lessons on the first photo, and I have even more questions.
Right. Well, maybe we can look at some of them today. Yeah. That'd be good. Yeah. Shri, tell us where you're up to.
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I was with the Liberation Unleashed for some time back. I went through, the first 3 fetters with, forgot who it is, but so I've been trying this awakening process for a long time, tried different methods, self-inquiry, reading different books, watching different videos, non-duality videos, Liberation Unleashed, so many other techniques, but it always seems to be a little bit outside my grasp. It always seems to elude. It feels like you can almost touch it, feel it, but it never reaches the point where it crosses over,
Yeah, I
That's
do
been
know
my
that one.
frustration, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, is it because I'm trying too many different things? I'm not paying enough, staying in one particular path for a long time for it to kind of, take its thing, or maybe some people are not meant to awaken at all. So,
Well, it's possible. Yeah.
so I don't know what it is, but I'm not given up trying, but I'm still, trying a lot of self-inquiry and those kind of things.
Yeah.
When I'm in the when I'm doing meditation, it really feels good. Meaning, like I can feel that expansion in the chest, and I can feel the expansion around the body, and I can kind of feel the contraction is kind of more or less gone, actually, right? But when you're in the normal relative world, you feel like you're kind of trapped somewhere in your head all the time,
Oh.
right? I mean, you could feel the sense of I am, or I or me, whatever it is here. And one thing I know that it is not me because I'm aware of it, right? If I'm aware of something here, that means it cannot be me. Something else is aware of that. But what is that something? That backward step is what I'm unable to take. I keep asking the question, what is the one that's aware of me right now? But it's not connecting, and then that shift is not happening. That's the problem, actually.
That's it. Yeah. I know that feeling you've got. I do remember it. I the year before I woke up, I was walking along the edge of a cliff, and all I had to do was go one way a little bit, and I would fall over. But it didn't happen for that whole year. Yeah. But I know the feeling.
Yes.
On the verge,
Yes.
I called it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But another thing that you just said that made me think of something was logic. I'm aware of something, so therefore it can't be whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That logic is a trap. You never get to where you want to go using logic. The mind is incapable of doing it for you. Yet the irony is that we're poking around in the mind.
Exactly. That's the only tool we got, but that's not good enough to go cross over the fence, right? Yeah.
And so when it happens, when you might imagine that when it happens because the mind says, "What the fuck?" and just gives up.
Yes. It's a total surrender to something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe I've not reached that point yet, but I know I'm kind of reaching it actually.
You never
the point
know,
of surrender.
you never know. And something I say is, when it happens, it will always be in the now. It's never happens in the future.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll keep poking at the bear. And see what
Absolutely.
happens.
Yeah, that's all we can do. Nothing more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you with us, Paul? Not Paul. I'll call you Paul Simpson or Paul S or something, but to differentiate.
Yeah. Okay.
Paul, are you with us? I just see a black name, a black thing with a name. Yeah, no. All right.
3. Is it 3?
Yeah, Srikant, Sri is good. Yeah.
This is I'm going to address you, but this is for everyone still seeking. When you say, I am going to meditate in order to get this realization, the realization that you seek is that there is no I. Is that?
Yes, that is correct. That's
okay?
Somehow I
So,
want that feeling of I to be dissolved.
okay.
Or at least, yeah.
Here's the paradox. When you say, I am going to meditate for the purpose of getting rid of the I, you have presupposed the problem you are trying to overcome. The I that you're trying to overcome in the later part of the sentence, you have presupposed the existence of at the beginning. Do you not see that as a trap?
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes, that is a trap, but there is a sense of something here. It may not be a real thing, it's an illusory thing, right? Like an energetic feeling of something here that is kind of causing that subject object split, because always, right? It's not a real me, but a sense of me. But how that can go away, I'm not sure actually, right?
Okay, where did you get the term subject object split?
That's by reading books and watching videos, and also like if I'm say looking at something, right now I'm looking at a wall, I can clearly see that the wall is outside me. I don't consider myself as the wall, but I consider myself as this body mind. At least something I'm located here, I'm not located in the wall. So clearly there's a spatial distance between me and the wall, actually.
Okay.
Right. So that's how I'm seeing subject object. Yeah. Split.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice story. Okay. Where was the subject object split before you learned it?
It was not there. That was a learned, I would say, word. I would say it's a word association that was learned.
So in experience right now, absent that story, where is the dividing line between you and the object?
It's
Don't
not
go to
there.
thought.
I can't. Yeah.
Right. So
I
there
can't
is no
find a
subject.
dividing line.
So if
Yes,
there is
I
no
cannot.
subject and there is no object, that's non-duality, isn't it?
True, that is true. But why do I feel? Why does it feel like I am looking at the wall? Why is that feeling coming? Or maybe.
Why does it? There's looking. Why does there have to be a you doing it? If there were no thought of you, would there still be seeing?
Yes, I think they'll still be seeing if there is still no thought of you.
So experience doesn't need you as a character. Sorry.
Right.
Gigs up. You're not necessary.
Yeah.
It can happen without the character.
Yes. But is that an intellectual thing or a more like energetic dropping away? Because energetically, I feel that something is here, right? So,
There are feelings.
yeah.
Does there need to be a character to have a feeling, or just a feeling there?
Yeah, just a feeling. Yeah, we don't need a character. Yes,
Right.
agree with that. Yeah,
Doesn't need you.
yeah.
Something else. Give me something else that's evidence of you. Anything.
Nothing I can think of I can point to. That's me. Or at least I cannot locate something. That's me. Yeah.
So outside of thought, there's no evidence that Sri exists.
I agree with that. Yes. So let me ask you one question. Even the subtle sense of something being here, is that also a thought? A
That's a
non-conceptual
subtle
thought?
sense. Well, I mean, everything has a label. I mean, before you were old enough to know language, you didn't know that was a subtle sense. So subtle sense is the label. That's intellectual, but it doesn't prove that there's you having that subtle sense. Obviously, you feel things, you see things, you hear things, you taste things, but it doesn't need you for those things to happen. The sound of I at the beginning of any sentence, the object of which that sentence is to gain enlightenment, that sound of I is the sound of the illusion of self-trap closing. I will meditate. You have presupposed the I that you're trying to get rid of. I will go to satsang. You have presupposed there is an I that you're going to satsang to get rid of. You presume the obstacle that you're trying to overcome. That's the trap. Do you see?
So drop that assumption is what you're saying. Drop the assumption there is an I in the first place, right?
You could say that, but there's no one to drop the assumption. What's in experience? It's just experience. It doesn't need the character for experience to happen. Experience doesn't need to drop anything. Those are just thoughts.
But how to directly realize it? That's the problem, right? I don't want it to just stay at an intellectual level. I need to feel it at an energetic bodily level. That is what you're saying. I agree with all that, but how do I actually feel it?
Sri, every time you use the word but, you jump back down into a hole. Yeah. I saw Paul direct you into an awareness that there was no dividing line between this organism we label Sri and the wall, the thing we labeled the wall. You saw for a millisecond that there was no dividing line, and then you thought about it.
Yeah.
The first thing you did when you thought about it was you said, but.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So you should change that word B-U-T into B-U-double-T.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your problem is thinking. In fact, it's the problem for everybody who hasn't seen that they're actually already what they're looking for. The whole problem is thinking.
Here's a thought, Vince.
Yes.
Whatever this is here, and the seeing, the seer, the seen is all one. If this walks forward, it's going to know when it bumps into the wall.
So
this must be separate from the wall.
you could almost put a but in there, couldn't you?
Oh, well, almost.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a logical conclusion you come to.
Okay, no buts, right? This and the screen in front of me, I'm going to use the word I think are separate. If I pick the screen up and do this, there was definitely something felt when this touched that.
Right.
So doesn't that show a separation of some kind? I'm not arguing for a self.
Yes, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. No, what it shows is that you're a good storyteller.
Wow.
And the way that we see the world is through story. Here's a big one. The way we construct the world is through story. Can you imagine a pre-verbal baby, maybe under 1 year old, seeing the wall? They have no thoughts, apparently, about a thing and what it's called, about themselves and what they're called. They might be just at the beginning of learning that they've got a label because of repetition. Okay.
Mm.
Would that baby see the wall as separate? Or would that simply be part of a thing called seeing?
Yeah, no, I can go for it's just seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, for the purposes of what we're doing, let's say that there is relative and there is absolute. And every time I try to lead you into an awareness about something relative, which is what this is about, and Shree's mind keeps jumping and saying, but what about the absolute? If you want to live in the absolute, become a scientist. If you want to wake up, recognize that the absolute is simply a mental perception of things. It's useful. Otherwise, you will bump into the wall. But in terms of your actual experience, pre-language, pre-thoughts, there is no wall. There is seeing, or there's feeling if you touch it. Or let's amend that. There is sensation if you touch it. Okay. Did I already say feeling is sensation plus thought? Yeah.
Mhm.
So the question for you, Shree, is, and for all of us, I guess, to a degree, how do we turn off the mind?
Exactly. That is the question. Right?
But we can't, can we?
We can't, because that's not in our control. Correct? The thoughts keep coming up by themselves. It's not like I'm control. It just comes up. That's it. You can calm to some extent using when you're meditating, maybe even there also thoughts come up a lot. In fact, sometimes they come up quite a bit because you notice them, right? You're noticing the thoughts when you're meditating. So many times you don't even notice the thoughts because you're completely identified with the thought. It doesn't look like there's a thought, but really you're reacting to all those stimuli actually, right? The thought stimuli. So you can't really shut down the mind that way, right? So
Right.
it's kind of a paradoxical thing.
Yes,
right?
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, an experience here about that is that because you can't control the emergence of thoughts, they come, they seem to have a mind of their own or a will of their own or something of their own. They just come, yeah. And here's how I describe what happens here. If you've got a really good friend, if you've got somebody who is a really, really good friend that you're very relaxed with, and they're such good friends that when they start waffling on about something or other, like politics or religion or something or other, and you can say to them, shut up, I don't want to hear that. And they will happily do that without taking offense. Okay, they don't take it personally. They just comply because you've asked them to.
Right.
And you've asked them to with a little bit of energy in when you said shut up, because they're being a bit annoying to you.
Right.
But they recognize that and they'll comply. They'll just go quiet about that for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the relationship you want to get with your thoughts. You want to have that relationship where you can tell them, just fuck off and leave me alone. Okay, and they'll do it. They'll just go quiet for a while. In the beginning, they'll come back again. A couple of minutes later, they'll be back there raging like they were before.
Yeah.
And you can tell them again, just go away, leave me alone. Yeah. That's a relationship that you can develop. And it's reached a point for me where it's like I'm in the house and it's raining outside, and I don't realize it's raining, and then vaguely I can hear this sound that then I go, oh yes, it's raining, right? So in the case of thoughts is, it's in the background, and they're just bubbling along doing their own thing, but I'm not taking any notice of them. So if you ask me what the thoughts were, I couldn't tell you because I haven't focused on them. I need to focus on them to bring them into attention, to recognize what they're saying. And I'm not going to do that most of the time unless they're useful. But if they're useful, I don't need to do that because they'll jump up and wave and say, here, I'm useful. They'll come along and tell you, don't walk in front of that bus. Okay, that's a useful thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's what I've just told you isn't something you can do, but because I've mentioned it, because you've developed an image of what I was saying,
Yeah.
it makes the likelihood of it happening greater.
Yes. It's something to try out for sure. Yeah. Even though there's nobody trying it, it can be tried out, right? Yeah. Another thing I'm thinking is like putting more attention to the body instead of the mind, right? Like listening to the breathing or observing the breathing, or generally the body sensations. I feel like if you redirect the attention over there, then there's not much bandwidth for the attention to jump back into thought.
Sure. Yep. It's a great way out of the mind. Yeah. Focus on sensations is a great way to stop thinking. Yeah. One of the things that I give people an exercise when I'm guiding them is when you realize that you've been lost in thought, and that's usually if an unpleasant feeling arises, you can be sure that you've been lost in thought.
Yeah.
And the moment you realize that you've been lost in thought, when I say lost in thought, you've been living out the content of the thought story.
Yeah.
When you realize that you've been lost in thought, there's that moment of recognition And if you celebrate that moment, celebrate it every time it happens, then you will change the frequency of it happening. It will change. I say you will. We have to use all this language stuff. But anyway, it will happen less often and be less intense. And over a really short period of a few weeks, you will change habit. Okay. And what you do to celebrate that recognition is you laugh. Right? Brian is really good at laughing. You will laugh and laugh out loud. Fake it if you have to, that's fine. Right? But even just thinking about laughing changes the hormonal bodily experience. And especially if you're going from an unpleasant sensation, which is likely to have induced some level of stress. And so you will have stress hormones floating around in the body. By laughing, you will get rid of those hormones and you'll replace them with feel-good hormones. And that is a reward that you give yourself that is much more likely to want to come back. So it's a great way to start changing the preponderance of thought.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I can do that provided nobody is around me. I'm alone. I can laugh out loud. But people are around me, that might look a bit odd, right?
Sure. Yep. So laugh internally. Just smile to yourself.
Right.
You can practice. Do this. Just smile with your eyes. Nothing else but with your eyes. Do it now. Just it changes the way you feel.
Yeah.
Laugh out loud is great, but if you're with other people, just do an internal belly laugh, just to yourself. Yeah. 99%, I just pick a figure, but 99% of your thoughts are totally useless. They're bullshit. They're repetitive. You know, I read a thing, I don't know how accurate it is, but I read this thing that said we can have 50,000 thoughts a day. And 90% of them are exactly the same as the thoughts we had yesterday. They're repetitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they useful?
No.
Hardly imagine it to be.
Kind of out of control, right? Yeah. We don't need them. At least most of them, we don't need them.
That's right. That's right. It's like they're a useful tool, but they kind of got out of hand. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you can see how they get out of hand. We go to school and we're told that if we're intellectual, that's a really good thing. We don't want to be dumb, do we? We want to be smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our whole life, we're conditioned to think that those thoughts are important. When really they're just like a cartoon gone wrong on television or something.
Yeah.
On that subject of thoughts, Vince and Sri as well, my mind is hyper. I mean, I got a diagnosis of adult ADHD about 6 months ago, which is hilarious. But and I've been trying to. I actually got there by trying to meditate. I've been trying for years, and I basically sit there for half an hour and have a thought fest. No matter how hard I try not to, I still meditate every day. I even got a teacher and I go to groups, but it's, it's bloody funny. But sometimes what meditation has done for me is make me more aware of my thoughts. So I'm catching them, which is great, which is tying into what we're trying to do here, which is fabulous. But sometimes when I catch them, and this sounds like I should be locked up. There could be about 4 conversations going on. You know, I can actually hear the layers of conversations, and to make it, I shouldn't say this out loud, or the men in white coats will be coming for me. If there's an earworm in my head that I heard that day, which happens about 10 times a day, at least one of those conversations will be going to that tune. And it's the fact that I lived 50 odd years unconscious of all of this, and now I'm seeing it and I'm catching it. I guess my question is, now occasionally I will be having, I work hard, I will be having sensible thoughts that I need to have, and I also have some thoughts that are stupid and rumination and self-critical and all of those things, which I immediately try and cut off. But what about the wasp's nest that is my head? When I catch that, is there anything I should be trying to do? Should that be a laughing scenario as well?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Just have a giggle, and I'd never stop laughing. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Well, could you have a better life than spend it laughing?
Yeah, yeah, as Sri said, it'd be a bit embarrassing at work, but you know, you can laugh inside. And maybe even for someone like me, I'd love to believe that within a couple of weeks, the neuroplasticity would start to change, and maybe it would stop happening. But it sounds like, you know, if that is even true for neuronormal people, shall we say, I just couldn't see it ever being possible for me, but I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, again, forget about the outcome. Just be involved in a process there. Yeah.
Yeah.
When one of the things that happens with this, when you mention neuroplasticity, you know, that what we're attempting to do with the whole waking up thing is to shift our predominant operation from left brain to right brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the left brain is that critical brain, that logical critical thing that goes on. And the right brain is the one that's just aware of the wall as a sensation of color. And not only will it see just color, but it will really appreciate it. It'll buzz with the quality of the color. Then yeah, that's the right brain operation. So what we've got is we've got really entrenched pathways in the left brain. They're entrenched because of a lifetime of repetition. They're really strong because we've just used those pathways all the time. And when you recognize that you've got this thought thing going, and you go, I'm going to laugh now, and you laugh, what happens is that you stop the completion of that. Have you ever been speaking to somebody and they start to tell you something that they've told you before, and you tell them, oh, you've already told me this, but they are compelled to finish it regardless. Okay, yeah. That's thought. That's the nature of thought. It wants to finish, even though it knows, you know.
Yeah.
But by recognizing and laughing at that point of recognition, what you do is you thwart the completion. You deny it the satisfaction of completion, and that helps to stop that strengthening of the pathway. Right, so the pathways will go away either because of attrition, because you simply don't use them anymore, or the brain can actually prune them. But neither of these things can we do intentionally. It's something that will happen. Okay, so don't worry about an outcome. Don't worry about whether it's going to take 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years. Just enjoy the process of thwarting those things, you know.
I will do.
Yeah.
If I've heard Alona on podcasts that were from donkeys years ago, really bad quality old podcasts, but I heard her saying, you know, love your brain, or your mind, you know, give it a hug and all the rest of it. And I'm thinking, I'm swearing at mine quite a lot of the time. You know, maybe I've got this silly thought going on. It's like, maybe I'm really pissing my mind off, and that's why it's picking on me even more. And it
Yeah.
becomes a that and me situation. I'm thinking, should I be being nicer to it? And, you know, said, and sometimes, you know, in meditation, I'm like, would you just shut up and leave me alone? And I'm sort of thinking maybe I should be being nicer to myself or something. Does that even make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. What we resist persists, right?
Okay.
What we fight,
Heard
we
that.
make stronger. So by loving it, by accepting it, it doesn't put up a fight. You're not pushing it into fight mode.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I felt like that was a stupid question, and I'm glad I asked now.
Yeah, it was
Brilliant. Thank you.
Liz, why do you call them my thoughts?
Now, there's a question. Yeah. You see, they're not, are they? Because I have no control over them in any way whatsoever.
Well, not only that, but especially with self-critical thoughts, wasn't that somebody else telling you that at some time? You know, you're not worthy of this or that or the other, you know, relative or ex-boyfriend or girlfriend downgrading you. I mean, is it really your thoughts, or is that somebody out in society been telling you all that crap?
I can't claim to have had a lot of that, if I'm honest. I think it's me. Stupid as that sounds, I can't say, oh God, I had that sort of upbringing where I was told I wasn't good enough, because I didn't. And I kind of know that I am good at, well, I've got to an age now where, you know, I've worked hard enough and I know I am, which kind of makes it all the sillier that those thoughts come, because I don't even have an excuse, if you like.
So you
I
just
just
woke
pick
up
on
one
myself
day
a lot.
and started self-criticizing yourself?
No, it's been lifelong, I think.
Well,
Maybe because no one ever else did it, I did it.
Well, did you?
I think I did.
Where did you learn how to do it?
I think I was very young. I remember being like this as far back as I can remember, which is probably, I don't know, I'm not one of these people that can remember being a baby or very young, you know, maybe 8, 9 sort of thing. But I think I've always been a bit hard on myself. Maybe.
Were you?
Maybe there was.
Were you?
Sorry, Paul?
Or was somebody
Was
else?
I?
Where'd you get
Don't
it
know.
from? I've never seen a child just start self-criticizing. They get it from somewhere. Where'd you get it from?
I don't know. Maybe I don't remember. Maybe I blocked it out.
Something to think about.
Yeah, it does. It brings up something as well. That is that we.
Sorry, I really need to say
Jump
something.
in. Yeah.
I, for example, I was a very praised child. Everyone was saying you are so smart, and somehow it was like it was too much. And it was not agreeing with reality, because everyone is saying you can understand everything and I know, but I can't. And it was as if there was a need for some criticism of some things that are not okay. That I'm not receiving the adequate feedback, and this is why I become my own critic, because no one would take that place.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. Becoming your own critic. I don't see children becoming their own critics. You got it somewhere. You might not remember it. It's the critics, or the world is the critic. Children aren't. You know, it might be other children, but the fact that you don't remember something doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, when you get this voice, these thoughts chasing around in your head, whether you identify it, before you identify it as my thoughts, just stop a minute and think, now, where did that come from? Is it really even my thoughts? Because what Vince says, when he's being figurative, telling them to shut up, you could actually be literal about it. Because if it's somebody else criticizing you, it's perfectly valid to tell them to just, shut the fuck up. Enough. You have to, it's just an exercise to look at what's going on, look closely. That's the whole object, because thought is the culprit here. That's the whole problem. The enlightenment is not so grandiose. It's just what I call the tyranny of thought, the little tyrant and running around in people's heads. And once you see through the little tyrant, he has no more emotional effect on you. So look closely. And what Vince is telling you is laugh at it. I mean, laugh at it as if it is somebody else. Doesn't matter if you can find whether the critic is somebody else or not. Laughing at it will gradually change the programming. But just be hesitant when you say my thoughts are driving. Everyone that comes into Liberation Unleashed has some variation of that. My thoughts are driving me crazy. I can't get out of my head. It's all variations of the same story. Thought is a tyrant. It's a useful survival tool, but the byproduct of it is suffering. So you have to look at it carefully.
Kristen,
anyway,
Kristen, in that vein of what Paul is talking about, tell us what you just posted.
Oh, yes. Well, just both of these are just ideas. Like, if there's a criticizing thought, or I'm bad, saying I'm bad. I'm really not any good. Like Bianca was saying, that's a thought. And then there's the one that argues, no, I really am good. The counter argument. Or if you're fed, I'm really good, then there's this counter argument, I'm really not good. But both are limitations, because they're both just thoughts.
Right.
So they're equally wrong.
Right.
They're equally invalid, completely and utterly.
Right.
So I've investigated, and this whose thoughts route, or where did the criticism come from? I have my mom pegged for this, and she's saying, this is where I've mapped the critiquing too. But then I'm reifying that the belief in that her existence. And this is where I think the whole following these particular kinds of inquiries both seemed to provide, this isn't even mine, this came from her, but then there's still a her. So there's this deeper investigation of, wait a minute, questioning the whole thing from even, the deeper investigation of, like, what is a thought? I'm not.
Where's the authority for any thought? That's the question you have to ask. Where is the authority that judges one thought to be true or another thought to be false? Isn't it just another thought saying that thought is true or that thought is false? Is there a king thought or a president thought somewhere? Or is it just one more thought, one more thought, one more thought, and they're all equal? So when you look at whose thought is it, the next question is, does it have any authority? Where's the authority? Is that true? What makes it true? Where's the evidence that that's true? Like Vince says, most thoughts are just bullshit.
But Vince said earlier that, you know, he'll get these thoughts, ignore all of them, and then something will flag up a good one. So what's going on there? There's something.
A feeling. Generally, feelings kind of have a lot to do with whether you judge a thought true or not. Sensations in the body. It's why, just a perfect example, why many people make bad choices in mates. Obviously, people that they shouldn't be with, but it feels good. And they say, oh, those thoughts that he's a bad person aren't true. My feeling is true. So when you look closely at a thought and you look for authority, look for the feeling that comes with it. It'll tell you a lot.
Yeah, I definitely had a hypercritical mother that and it's left like conditioning seemingly with like just intense feelings and like lots of self-critical thoughts about being bad and such. And you guys have spoken a little bit. Definitely it's been really helpful, like just hearing all this um about disassembling these thoughts. And even though they're about no one, can't really find it, but I mean, it's the feelings, the situations still arise, and yeah. I mean, I guess I'm asking like how to undo that. There's like a wanting things to be different, maybe for.
Yeah.
Well, you notice it first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Made you laugh at it. Tell them,
Yeah.
Vince.
Yeah.
Another I would call it a meme that I put a lot of value in is that the why and the how of anything is just a waste of time, a waste of concentration, a waste of everything. The only question that's really valid in this investigation is what. So where these things came from originally doesn't really matter. If you look for a moment at what Paul was talking about, can you imagine a newborn baby being self-critical? So we can presume that somewhere along the way, somehow, it learned to do that. That's a how.
Yep.
So it doesn't really matter. Where you are now is a what, and that's the valuable.
So it's pretty
think,
much.
I could have learned criticizing just seeing other people criticized, not me. But I knew if I behave in such and such way, which I obviously do not behave like that, I am praised. But if I would behave like that, I would be criticized.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of hearing, Vince, is just throw the whole thing out the window. Like the logical aspect of like trying to undo this stuff, or I can feel it because like the sensation, it's almost like the sensations are the ones speaking right now. It's like that feeling of like I am bad, and it's a thought and a
Yeah, we shouldn't underestimate the power of words. You've probably all had come across somewhere this artificial intelligence called ChatGPT that's become incredibly human-like in its response. And one of the realizations I've had out of watching that is that language has the power to build worlds. Language is the way we construct our reality. And this is one of the reasons why thoughts are so big in our life, so invasive, so controlling, so whatever. It's because we view everything through language. But what we're looking at here with waking up is pre-language. It's underneath language. Yeah. It makes it tricky. For all you guys who've just turned up, you probably didn't get my message to say that because we've just moved into daylight saving here in Australia, I made the decision to stay at what is now 6 a.m. and that is an hour earlier than we normally would be, with the idea that all those people in Europe who are kind of had to go to bed before it because it was getting really late would get an hour earlier. That was my thing. So yeah, we will start an hour earlier than we used to in future, but that's no problem. Okay, so welcome everybody. Yeah. We've just been investigating the Church of Thought.
I want to say I enjoyed your laughter, Brian. Felt kind of had a feeling of the wisdom in that laughter. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's really funny for no reason, you know.
And Brian, just on that, could I also just say, I think you asked the question, how do you undo some of this or undo this stuff? And then you said, well, I guess it's just noticing it. And Paul was saying that too. And that's the truth. We can't undo this, but it's just seeing it for what it is. The undoing happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it undoes itself.
Yeah. There you go. There's the laugh. Now, I don't know whether this will be helpful or not, but Paul, you at the start you talked about this I being a presupposition, and James, you used the example of banging into a wall, and you said, well, that's, you know, there's a separation. So, what was it that hit the wall?
Well, if you want an answer, it was my nose.
Your nose. Was that you?
No.
No.
But it was still a nose hitting a wall.
Correct. In labels, yes, but what was it
Yeah.
actually? What was it in actual experience? Without using
It was
any
just
labels, without using any labels, and we know we've got to use some sort of labels, but the most basic description you could give, what happened?
right. So when I picked the screen up and touched the nose to the screen, yeah, the sensation was there was sensation in my hands. You know, when I touched the edge of the screen, the visual images changed as they moved closer to this face. So the colours and things got closer. Then there was pressure on the end of on the nose. And then everything happened in reverse when I put it back down. So yes, it was a story of sensations. That's what it was.
And what was paid more attention to, the story or the sensations?
Oh, the story.
And what's the story made up of?
Thoughts.
There we go.
Yeah. I would still like to be able to sort of feel a genuineness about the answers I'm giving. It's not that I'm being dishonest, but they're intellectual answers, yeah, rather than being intuitive, if that's even the right description. But, you know, it's a sort of genuinely living that experience as sensations rather than living it as, you know, when I'm thinking about this, so that's memories as well, more thoughts, yeah. But thinking back, oh, it was hands, it was touching, it was lifting, it was moving, it was seeing, yeah. I suppose, I mean, I get all this. If I could drop the thoughts and live in the now, fantastic. But currently, this here hasn't found a way to do that, or not that it's found a way, it hasn't happened to this yet.
So when you're talking about this, what is this?
This mind, body, feeling of sensations, these colours, these sounds, these feelings, tastes, or, you know, I mean, we've got far more than 5 senses, yeah? I don't know how many senses we've got. We've got
Well,
lots,
just stop there.
yeah?
Just stop for a moment. Just stop for a moment. You're talking about this being all these labels.
Yep.
If you didn't have any labels there, what would this be?
The most basic of labels.
No, without any label.
I can't describe it without any label.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you need to find anything? Will that ever go away? This that you can't describe?
Not until I die.
How do you know that it'll go away when you die?
Yeah, okay, yes. Okay, to answer that question, no, this will never go away. Not that I will know. Yeah.
Is that the truth for you right now?
Yes and no. Yes, it's the truth, but in the discussion we're having, but as a deep-seated. Sorry. Then no, it's not the truth. No.
It's not the truth right now.
No.
So what is the truth?
I don't know.
Good.
Can you just stay with that?
Yeah.
Vince was talking about the patterns that are developed. As a little child, there are so many things that are pointed to as being me that we get conditioned with. That's conditioning, is it not? And this is about dropping all those and seeing the truth of what is, and allowing, and for some it seems to happen like an explosion, but that seems to be a rarity. And some of us, it's a real slow cook. It's reminding ourselves continually about what is true and what is not true. Can you live with that?
Yes.
And staying where you said, I don't know, that's the place to be.
James, if you feel like having more inputs, I had a thought, something you said. Do you feel like having more? So I'm curious when you say, like, you know, I can see this stuff. Yeah, I can see the direct experience and the difference between that and the labels. And then you said, and my sense is like, it's not the intuitive experience. I want the intuitive experience, right? And what tells you, and like, if we take a moment and really try and look and feel, and what tells you right now that it's not the intuitive experience?
Nothing's changed. I don't know what that change would be, but the way I feel, the way I'm experiencing things doesn't feel as though it... Oh, go on, yeah, Karen, go on.
Yeah. So, if we don't go to changed or not changed, that's in time, that's in conceptions and in comparing experiences, which is the conventional way of... Yeah. So, yeah. What tells you that your direct experience right now is not the intuitive seeing?
Just thoughts.
Right. And how is that it's just thoughts? Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to... I'm trying not to intellectualize. I'm just trying to let the words come.
That's good.
Yeah. It's something... Go on.
Here's another question. Are you open to that you might be having the intuitive experience right now?
Yes. In fact, I can honestly say I am having it right now, because if I could strip away the thoughts, strip away the labels, I'm seeing these colors, although I'm automatically making them into faces, you know, and then I'm hearing the sounds and I'm automatically making them into words, you know, and I'm feeling the things, but I'm automatically making them into, it's my hand touching a table. So I'm piling all these labels on top. Yeah. Underneath all that is the intuitive experience, obviously, but there's something I'm missing.
Hang on.
Or there's something I'm not missing.
I think that's an assumption, right? And you can see that's an assumption. Good.
Yes.
Like, that's a comparative assumption. Okay. And how is it to be with that the intuitive experience is there? And here's another question. Can you sense any curiosity about this intuitive experience that's there, or even the potential that is there?
Yeah, there's a curiosity that it's all mixed in with curiosity, frustration, desire, want.
If we just stay with that, a lot of words, it's okay, and it's all welcome. Okay, there is that curiosity. Nice. Okay.
Hey, James, what a bummer.
Yep.
You're already awake. What a bummer if this is it. Eh?
Well,
How disappointing would that be?
I have no words.
Well, that's a first. Really? And he's laughing too. I love it. James, I'm Stacy.
Oh, hello, Stacey. Lovely to meet you. I'll find your picture of you in a second. Oh, hello in the. Thank you. Hi.
No, I was having technical difficulties. I still am, but I signed in on my phone instead.
Yes.
Wow.
Hey,
Well, if
Stacey,
this is
it's
it-
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
You're my
Who said
guide.
Who? Where are
Ryan.
you?
I was
Ryan?
GoBro.
Oh,
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good to see you.
You're on the other side, man. That was fast. I mean, in other words, I mean, it wasn't fast just all over altogether, but it was like you went from about where James is to seeing. It was like boom.
Hmm.
You were having some doubts,
Yeah.
and then boom. Awesome. Yeah, you
Yeah, I
confirmed
went
that.
to,
Hi,
yeah, for
who's
sure. I
the
mean,
lady that showed up? Yep. Well, that's how it goes sometimes. We never know. We cannot predict. Hey, Vince, I've been channeling. Huh?
Oh, I was just going back to James for a minute. Are we off, James?
No, go back to James.
James, you got the doubt monster on your back there. You want to get rid of thought. You want to get rid of thought. You want something to happen in the future. You are convincing yourself that you're not seeing sensation colors and having the quote intuitive experience now. And that's all what that you think you have to get rid of thought. That's all that's in the way. That's all that's in the way. This desire for some special big, the Enlightenment handbook of all the things that should be happening.
Can I give one example that I struggle with?
Sure.
For all of you, and if anybody wants to chime in on this, please do. We're told that, well, we're not told. People are guiding us and things, and it's like just let go of things, yeah? Just let it go. Right. If I'm holding a pen, or something in my hand, and somebody says let it go, I know how to do that. Whether the eye is, whatever it is, but I can do that. And I let go of the pen. I don't know how to let go of these thoughts or these
I'm
feelings.
not asking you to change your thoughts or let go of anything. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything.
I tell people mostly, I do say let go, but there are two things that you can do. You can question them or you can ignore them. You've got those two choices. The work of Byron Katie questions them, or you can just go, oh, there's a thought. Wow. And acceptance is another one. You can say, oh, hi, thought. Nice to meet you. Go. I'm busy now. Or something like that.
Another way, I know exactly what you're saying, James. Having to let go is too much doing. But there's something else that we don't have to do, and that is we don't have to take them. We don't have to hold on to them. There's a subtle difference there, but for me, that was one of the keys. I don't have to take it. And these thoughts are so subtle, as Leslie was talking about the doubt. We take that thought so spontaneously without even realizing it. So if as soon as we see it, that's what Brian was talking about, just seeing the fact that we're taking it. That's the key. And how do we do that? We don't do it by thinking about it. We simply look with that deep curiosity. What's
James?
going on here?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
James, there's a recording in the Dropbox. I think it's the fourth one called Perceiving Receiving.
Yes.
In which you've done that one, yes?
Yeah.
So put all this shit in that hand and metaphorically drop it. Use perceiving receiving for that. It would be very helpful.
I will let all this percolate and hopefully it will do its thing.
Yeah.
And next week
yeah.
I'll be coming on here saying, oh, this was all very easy. There you go.
I think you might.
We
It
shall
could
see.
happen.
Hey, not
We
next
shall
week. Not next week.
Right now.
Right now.
Oh, thank you,
You,
Vince.
you said something earlier, James, that I thought was a bit amusing. You said, I want to be able to live in the now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You see the joke in that?
Yes. Yeah. Because I am, or it is, or whatever it is. Yeah.
How can you not? How can you not? Where
Yeah.
would you be if you weren't in the now?
Yeah.
Yeah, where else would you be?
Well, thank you all. And I will let you know how it all turns out.
I'm sorry I missed some of this by having these technical difficulties today.
We did start an hour earlier today than normal as well.
You did?
Yes.
Nobody told me.
Actually, are you
I'm
not on
not
my
on-
list? You're on my
I'm
list.
not on your
You
list.
didn't read your email.
No, we should put me back on your list. I was not getting them, and if you're going to change times, I need to know. So
It was
sometimes.
because we went into daylight saving in Australia, and I thought that was an opportunity to make it better for the people in Europe.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm.
So, James, did you make it early?
Yes, James was first here.
I
Yes,
believe
I
it.
was here.
Awesome. Where's your towel?
Oh, we could confuse everybody else, but I've been sucking on the corners and things are going well.
I'm so glad. No,
Good.
a lot of these people get it. Yeah, you got it. How do you not know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Where have you been?
Mm.
James and I went back and forth about that. It occupied us for a little while, but kept us distracted
Yeah.
from looking. All right. Vince, I've been channeling you this last couple of days. I've put your laughing exercise on my page to a few of my clients,
All right.
including James, actually. I found it in one of your threads where you said to laugh when there's judgment. I think I've heard variations on that, though. Is that right? Is it just judgment or some other thing?
Oh, I originally it came to me about when you're lost in thought. So
Thank
when
you.
you're
See, that's what I
judging,
was looking for.
you're certainly lost in thought when you're judging, aren't you?
Okay, so James, amend that. When you're lost in thought, laugh.
With the recognition of it. That's the point. That key point is the recognition, that moment when that happens. Yeah.
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 Lots of laughing will ensue.
Yes.
Excellent. And your household will wonder what's happening.
It's purely my story, but I have really good, strong feelings about you, James.
Thank you. Thank you all. You've all been amazing.
Yeah.
If words make worlds, then you are an amazing bunch of people. Thank you all.
They
We
really
are a great world here. Yeah, yeah.
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 Yep. And you will come along and pay it forward in time too.
Hey, you could even be guiding next week. Who knows?
Absolutely. Yep. Well, that's not
Vince, you're not here.
that's not that's a good one, because it's been so long since I woke up that I've actually forget what it's like to be quote normal in a lot of ways. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so people who are new to it are more valuable to help people than people who've been around for a long time.
It does help. Yeah.
I
think
I suspect you've never been normal, Vince.
Yeah. I was about to
That's
say that about
probably
myself.
true.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of us have never been normal.
You're not going to sit there and be quiet the whole meeting, are you, Eric?
If I have something good to say, I guess I'll chime in. So I've been thinking a little bit more about trauma and actually experience of it. And I guess last time we met, you know, it's kind of obvious that there is some trauma in here, but then I was saying, you know, it doesn't sting, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't sway me at all. But I don't feel like I'm holding on to it or would miss it if it went away or enjoy it or not really enjoy it. But then I did think about that a little bit, mostly the fact that it doesn't sting like you know, some things can really, you know, sting you, like my wife giving me the silent treatment, that, you know, that really stings. But something like that emotion that can come out doesn't really hurt. It's just that it's just like an emotion. It's like a reservoir of emotion. But then the other thing I thought about it was that you know, in the past year, so you know, this is all about stuff that's happened 35 years ago. And the past year, maybe it came up once, but you know what I realized was the only time it came up was when I actually verbalized it in front of people, because it's never come up in meditation or just daily life. But when I just mentioned, I won't even say the words right now because that could bring it all back up again, but when I mentioned it in front of people, which I normally don't ever have a chance to do or have a need to do, or it doesn't come up. But then I thought again about, so I don't know, a couple months ago, my wife was listening to some Chinese pop music, and I didn't understand the words at all. But there was something about the singer, the music. It was like the most, it just went into me. It's like it was like just the ocean of sorrow, of grief, of sadness. And I felt it so much. I just, you know, it just came out. And, you know, the reality was that my wife saw that and thought I was experiencing something about a loss of a relationship from before. And it wasn't, it was just emotion. And I had to, like, because the tears were coming out and I just had to shut it down because I knew it was something that someone else couldn't appreciate or understand, or it was like I had to really just, I got to shut that down. Can't let that out.
Eric, let me jump in here. To me, and all this is my subjective experience of you, and that is that you are a living contradiction. You're a paradox in that you say all the right things, but I have already, before you mentioned it now, I imagined that this pool of sadness that is there and that you have somehow bypassed it. You've somehow repressed it so well that it's almost like it doesn't exist, but you get little glimpses of it from time to time, and that Chinese music took you straight to it very quickly. Yeah. So we want to get to where you are in a, I don't know how to put this, in a genuine way rather than in an imposed way. And although you don't feel like you've imposed anything, I imagine, you've suppressed it, you've repressed it, you've denied it, and you say all the right things. But I feel something that is, and not shutting down that music and allowing yourself to experience that is all that's required. All that's required for you to, how can I put it? Let it out. Let it out to the point where it goes away. And I have to reiterate, this is my story about you. It may or may not have anything real about it, but that's my feelings for you.
Yeah, I guess in that particular situation, I couldn't do that. I was with someone else who couldn't understand.
And that's a big one. I don't know if you were at a meeting with Jahida the other day, but she said she started to feel something, and if she was to express it, everybody around her would immediately try and fix it for her. But the only way she could allow herself to express it properly was to go into the bathroom and shut the door and be alone. And then she could feel it without the imposition of other people trying to make it right for her. And that's probably partly what I imagine it is for you as well. So yes, no, it is something you'll probably need to do, not necessarily alone. Alone is probably not quite as good as with people who can allow you to do it without trying to fix it for you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's part of it, because I don't feel, the sadness part. The other part, the trauma part, I really just see it like a scar on my skin. Like I'm not going to get plastic surgery to make my skin look like I don't have a scar.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, because I know it's just it's a embedded emotion that's from 35 years ago, has no effect in my life, that it's not real. It's just an emotion that I experience.
Eric, where did you get that idea, that belief system? That trauma has no effect on your life today, and it's an embedded emotion, and it's 35 years old.
Well, I mean, you don't know the whole story. My son had leukemia, and I just went through a period of, okay, it just comes up. I can't.
You're allowed to, Eric. Nobody here.
You can't what? You can't what?
Well, just that if we talk about it, it's, you just have to be okay with just me taking over a meeting with emotion that doesn't really reflect on anybody else.
That's fine.
That's all.
Dear man, don't have to manage me or anybody else here. You do not have to worry about our feelings, our emotions, our reactions. It is, if it's alive in you, bring it on. That's what we're here for.
But when I said it's is buried in me. That's the only way I can describe it, because it's not anything I'm experiencing in front of me or worried about or concerned about.
But maybe not the story, but you heard music and you were overwhelmed by grief. You see,
I don't know.
See those as unconnected, but they're not unconnected.
Yeah, that was the thinking, is that maybe there's just something that, and the other question is, maybe that whole situation with my son just stirred up something else that was already there. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it, but I know that's when I started, having that wave of grief that would come up. I don't know. I don't even know if I'd call it grief. It was just emotion that just detached from reality.
That is reality. You don't need to know. You just need to feel.
Yeah.
You don't need to call it something. You don't need to have the story about it. You don't need to have a big connection to your son or not connection to your son, or call it grief or call it itchy toe. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I know. And that's why normally when it comes up, I just feel it intensely for a minute or two, and then it just goes away and I'm fine. That's it. It goes away, but the thing is, it does come back.
Doesn't go. That's what Vince is telling you. See, there's a poem by David White called "The Well of Grief." I wish I had it right here on my desktop. I'd read it, but it doesn't go away. It's this deep, deep well. And I'll get it and read it to you. But it's also what's in the way of awakening. I'm discovering more and more that this is what deepens your connection with what's real and what's here now, below the neck, below thought. So all this effort to figure it out and tell the trauma story or not tell the trauma story, or worry about whether people understand it or don't understand it, is beside the point.
Oh, I totally agree. So the other day when I brought that up, I wasn't intending to even bring it up because it didn't seem really that relevant.
But how do you
then
know?
As I thought about it, I realized that it is something that it's there, it's there.
Those who will not slip beneath the still surface of the well of grief, turn down through its black water to the place we cannot breathe, will never know the source from which we drink, the secret water cold and clear, nor find in the darkness glimmering the small round coins thrown there by those who wished for something else.
And I think that's the point. I don't wish for something else. I really don't. I'm okay with the grief. In some ways, I feel alive with the grief. It's okay for me. I'm not searching for something else.
But unfortunately, we're observing, at least I am, and Vince commented on it too, and I'm sure other people are observing you cutting it off at the neck.
Yeah.
And so I don't doubt that you're okay with it, but maybe you're making it about other people not tolerating it or understanding it, or it's not appropriate or not apropos to the moment. But, you can only do that for so long.
Yeah.
Because that's the truth, and that's in your body, and that's where all your awakening is in there. It's through that hole at the bottom of the well. Anyway, I'm sorry to be preaching at you, but I'm I agree with Vince 100%, and I don't know you at all, but I only know because I see myself doing that for so many years. So many years, you know. And you don't even need to have a son who died of leukemia. We all have grief. We all, you know, and you have a particularly good dose of it. And you came by it honestly, and it deserves to be felt and to bring you into freedom. It's actually your teacher. It's his gift to you.
You know, the funny thing is I feel that way. That's exactly how I feel.
Well, then just let it teach you. There's more to learn.
I have a story that came from an experience that happened to me just after I woke up, and that was when a good friend of mine died. And I recognized that grief and sadness were different, and that I came to the conclusion that grief was sadness plus stories, and the grief was all about it shouldn't happen and what variations of that, whatever. But sadness, and you know, I just have to mention the word sadness and it comes up to the surface for me again. And it was 12 years ago that this friend of mine died, and it doesn't matter. It's there now in the same way. But sadness is I would describe it as just a physical thing. It's just the sensations that come up. It's the body expressing something. And I don't have to get into what the something is. That just to allow the sadness to be there is both painful and sweet. It is actually very nice. In the midst of crying and tears, I can feel really good about this sadness. It's an expression of love or something. I don't know, you know, it's just, that's another story, but yeah. And in you, I see that there is no grief, but I do see that there is a lot of sadness.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, I could tell what happened with you just as exactly what happened with me. It's thinking about it doesn't ever come up. I don't think about it and feel sad. But if I say it out loud, if I say my son had leukemia, then it comes out.
Yep. It's
if
so
I think
close
about
to
it,
the surface, yeah.
if I think about it, it doesn't, nothing happens. No feeling. For some reason, it's weird. It's just like speaking, the saying the words brings it out.
Yep. Just takes the
It's a
cap.
strange thing. But I don't know. I don't know whether that sadness is, maybe everybody has a well of sadness that, or an ocean of sadness that's,
yeah,
that maybe people don't need to experience or don't have a trigger. Maybe that's just part of the human.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
But it does open
Eric,
your heart, and
okay.
the answer to awakening is through the portal of the heart, not through the head. You see, and if there's a sentry at the door going, this isn't good, this isn't right, I don't want to feel it. I'm using the heart as a metaphor, you know, but it's through a different type of truth and knowing than all that. why all the talking therapy in the world will never get you there.
Oh, yeah.
Eric, I can't make any comment on your story at all that would make any sense, but I can tell you about mine and my story. Yeah, and when I use story, I'm using story in the sense of the way we create these thoughts and everything goes on in our head. My story, when I climb out of the well of grief, it makes me fall into the well of guilt. So I don't know if that happens for you as well, but my story definitely doesn't want me to feel good in any way. You know, if I can drag myself out of one emotion, it throws another one on. And the thing that's happened, it's happened to me this evening. I'm not enlightened. I haven't had breakthrough. But the one thing I've realized, and again, I'm using the words I and stuff, is this is all my thoughts, and I can beat the shit out of myself if I want to. And I've got to let the bad things arise, whatever, and stop beating myself up as well. That's what's happened for me. I don't know if that happens for you. Okay.
You know, I don't even think about this. I don't feel like I put anything on it. I don't feel like it impedes my life in any way. But I think that's the point that I was making earlier, is that it doesn't sting. Even when I'm showing emotion, it doesn't sting. It doesn't hurt. It just feels like just like looking at a tree, or it's just another experience.
And it is.
Doesn't need to be good or bad. You know, I was listening to a retreat of a room full of 300 parents who lost their children. And there's a recording of it on a CD called The Grief Process. And excuse me for using the word grief, because I have a different semantic to Vince's about grief and sadness. It doesn't really matter, but
just a word.
It's just a word. But there were so many stories, like exactly what you're saying, of these parents, and they just didn't, you know, they feel they did it, they'd been through it, or they didn't want to judge it, or their life carried on. But there was so much feeling and so much, like what James was saying, a bit of guilt, repression, who knows what tentacles it has, but we got to see it right on the surface. The minute you start telling the story, the minute you hear music, it's right there. And it's begging to be felt, regardless of what meaning you ascribe to it, regardless of whether it's stinging or not stinging, or good or bad or sideways. It's you should find that CD. It's out of print, but if you can find it, it's called The Grief Process. So beautiful. All about parents who've lost their kids. It's so beautiful. So anyway, I've said enough. Thank you. I just encourage you to go to follow that rabbit down a hole a little bit farther, if for no reason other than curiosity. Maybe there's more. I think it's your son speaking to you today. You know, that's the way I would see it.
So you didn't hear the whole story. One reason why it doesn't affect me too much is my son survived.
Okay.
And though I was around lots of parents and kids who didn't survive, my son did.
Well, then maybe there's another reason to have it. The sadness.
So and it's weird. I kind of have a feeling that I experienced this in a way deeper than my son did, but
okay, but maybe that's why it's coming up. Keep going. Under that stone may be one about your childhood. You never know. You wouldn't know until you jump in. if he's still here, that, yeah, like you just said, deeper than his story is your story, down to the pre-verbal, down to the bottom, and then maybe your face before you were born, as the Zen koan says.
Yeah. I feel like the whole enlightenment. I'm not sure enlightenment is. It's not a really terribly good word, but a lot of this process of inquiry, of looking at thoughts and maintaining like this point where you recognize something without following it. In a way, it's a more or recognizing an interpersonal situation where you suddenly feel defensive or something. You know, in a way, it's more I guess, direct in a way, because it's more subtle, I guess. You know, when you find yourself feeling like in a group of people and you're wondering what someone thinks about you or something like that, it's, in a way, it's more subtle thinking process than this emotion that just comes up and takes over everything, and you can't not recognize it. But some of that other stuff of getting in that gap and just observing it, it's so much more subtle. It's so much more difficult to because it's so easy to get out of that gap and follow the train instead of just looking at it. I have no choice when this emotion comes out. It's just there. It's everything.
Yeah, but can I give you a contrary story? There's groups of people who have been through all the fetters and have seen every subtle thing they could possibly see, and still they develop mystery illnesses or get like Adyashanti, PTSD, and quit teaching. And what is that all about but not going down the deepest rabbit hole, in my opinion? This is my humble opinion. I think the feeling that which we've not felt for our whole lifetime is way harder than seeing that there's no space and time and digging under those later fetters. That can be done with a little discipline and some persistence and some meditative concentration. But I disagree with you. I think there's so many of us are sitting on stuff that we haven't looked at. And many of us are awakened. Many of those awakened teachers
there's something that really
we admire are also bypassing some of this stuff, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Al.
I was just going to say, adding to that, Leela, you said at the start, Eric, I didn't mean to bring this up, but it's come up and it's big. There's something there that's trying to make itself known. So to Leela's point, there's so many things that none of us understand and none of us know that are beckoning, that we try to rationalize and perhaps deny, but here it is. And I take this to myself as much as pointing it out to others.
What's showing up is our only and best teacher, isn't it? Because it's really ourselves teaching ourselves. It's yeah.
Eric, may I ask you a question?
Sure. Who is it? Oh.
You know, there's two types of, let's just for starters say two types of thoughts. There's the text thought and then there's the mental image. And when you start talking, you get triggered in a moment, like there's a mental image in there coming up. That's how people react instantly to mental images. Is there a mental image that comes up for you when you start telling that story?
No, it's not at all. No mental image. It's just it's really the word. It's like I could think about this. I mean, meditating and never come up. I could think about it and think of the story, and maybe even I could say the words. It's interesting because maybe if I even just said the words to myself, walking somewhere where no one could hear me, I'm not sure it would come up. But if I just say
because he lived, and I'm just wondering, do you have some type of mental image that he didn't?
No,
Nothing. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I actually had the same feeling happen when my cat died.
Well, I understand that one.
Yeah.
I get teary when my animals die too, but I'm just a little perplexed. There's something, I don't know, the way you trigger so quickly, it makes me think there's something flashing through there, but I could be wrong. I'm not a psychologist.
Yeah, no, I certainly haven't seen anything.
If talking about it triggers it, then why don't you just go ahead and talk about it? Otherwise, we can analyze it all day long.
Well, usually what will happen if I say, my son had leukemia, it comes out. That's the only way it comes out. I just have to say the words.
Good, keep talking about
it. Saying it. Just keep talking about it. We're here. Anybody got anything better to do? Not me.
Even if you have to say those words over and over again, and until you can breathe through them and breathe and let it come.
Yep. We'll sit right here.
I can't even say the words now.
Cry. Really let it out. You're holding it.
I know I can shut it down instantly.
You can say them. You can say them. We see you. We see you. You can say them. Over and over again. We see you.
Better. Make some noise. That's better.
Yes.
We see you.
Yep, we're here holding you, listening. We want to hear you say it. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. You can take your glasses off if you want to. I would.
Yeah.
I don't even know the words are.
You can say it again. We'll give it another little kick.
It's just it's the weirdest thing because
You're not connected. You're not connected when you're in your head.
Yeah, I know.
We see you. It's okay to connect.
There you go.
That's better.
We're right here holding you.
Stop.
Yeah.
You don't have to change your shirt when you do. You're not doing it right.
It's okay to connect. Right here.
Can you get hold of the part of you that's trying to stop that from happening?
Uh, um, I was trying to. I mean, I can feel that pressure trying to hold it down, and I.
Yep. And for the first time in your life, perhaps you don't need to hold it down. You can just let it go.
The way to
Okay,
let it go.
I don't
connect.
see any tears, Eric. No tears at all.
Oh, there. My eyes are wet.
A little bit.
Yeah.
You can feel it in your heart. You can feel it in your heart. I can see it. You can feel it. It's breaking.
Yeah.
And saying it in your head and saying it by yourself, you're not connected to anybody. When could you stop? Don't even think about it. Be with it. Say it again and connect, because you're not going to be able to figure it out in your head. And connect to us. We're safe.
My son had.
Say it again. Say it again.
My son had leukemia.
So it changed that time?
Yeah, it changed. It didn't come out that time.
And do it again. Mufasa. It's from The Lion King. Do it again. Do it again until your heart just breaks open. And this is safe. You're connecting. You can't connect by yourself.
Yeah. My son.
That time it happened when you thought about saying it. You didn't have to actually say it, and it happened.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking about saying it, and then I guess the words. Then the words started forming in my mind. It's like, I loved him so much.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And here you're not alone. Here you're not alone.
That love is way beyond words, eh? That love just goes so much deeper than any words.
You know, I guess when you have an experience like that, it's so during the day I would work, 8 hours, leave work at 5, and then I'd go to the hospital, and I would sleep in the chair next to him. Then I'd wake up, go to work for 8 hours, come back, and sit. So that time an image did come up of so in the middle of the night, every 2 hours they would I can't remember, it was like doing taking blood samples, and then they would I can't remember exactly, it's so long ago. It just, they'd have to inject him in the spine to take out, I can't even remember what it was for. And I had to hold him while he was like screaming.
And you were so helpless.
Yeah, and I couldn't help it.
It sounds like you were so there for your son that you weren't there for yourself, and you felt helpless, and you couldn't help him. It's so painful. Thank you for sharing.
So I don't know about you, but I get the feeling that this was about the intensity of the love that you felt for your son. More than anything else. This incredible intensity that was right at the surface as you were beside him in the hospital bed.
Yeah.
And Eric, this helplessness, just feel right into it.
Yeah, I think that.
Just feel into it, Just let it take you.
You talk about it, holding your son, talking and him screaming, and you're not being able to help. And it brings you back to that moment. That's where it's living.
And that moment is not in the past. It's not 35 years ago. That moment is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it does affect your life.
There's someone else that's in there screaming that you can't help, that you love so much.
Yeah.
And that is still crying and still suffering. And in these groups of couples who lost children or who had, not all of them lost them. The two suffered in silence separately, the couples. And they never could even do it. They couldn't together bring their emotion to the surface together because they were both encased in their own, not wanting to burden anybody with it. You see.
Yeah, and I think what happens with some couples too is that they end up blaming each other. Maybe it's just an escape from, the feeling that they have themselves. So that does happen too, where people just can't go there. And the only thing they can do is blame somebody else or find an excuse or something.
As you were crying, you threw your head back and you put your heart out. Like they said, they could see it in your heart. And then there was this vice around your neck. You could feel yourself choking it down. You could see it. All your muscles.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt that.
Well, that's just the crack open. There's lots more to come.
Right. There's lots more to come. Who's really, I'm sorry. Who's really good at, I sent Vince for a session with Violet, Angelo DeLillo's girlfriend. She's very good at following these little rabbits down the hole in your body. So I would recommend just sign up for one-on-one, and it may open something really deep for you. Anyway, go ahead, Jenny. Sorry. There's lots of ways to skin a cat here.
I'd be interested in how you feel a couple of hours from now, and if you notice any change in what you consider normal.
Yeah, I'm curious because, you know, like I said, normally I don't ever go there.
Yep. Yeah.
So
well, you kind of didn't go there today, but you did lift the lid and peek in a bit. Yeah.
And what is starting to crack open is your heart and connecting with people and allowing yourself to be there for you and allowing others to be there for you and share that vulnerable helpless side, that it's affecting your life and your connections, not only with yourself, but with those around you, because we are how you treat yourself.
It's actually pretty amazing that it hasn't made you sick.
Don't even say that, Vince.
Sorry?
Don't say that. Don't plant that idea.
No, I feel like I'm pretty healthy for, you know, 76-year-old, but you know, the other thing is that you have to realize too is that I spent the formative years of my life, you know, 18 to 22, you know, I studying Zen or living in a monastic situation, you know, doing the, you know, sitting for 3 days and 3 nights in meditation.
Okay.
So
that's where you learn to bypass it, I think. I wonder.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's this, you know, that's a point. I was actually thinking that the other day is that, you know, sitting is so comfortable and so peaceful. And I like to go there because it's so restful and peaceful. And like I said, I don't ever feel anything like that in meditation. So, but you know, you know, that age, you know, that you're 18, early 20s, and you're spending your time, you know, we would have meditation weeks, or every once a month, we would have a week of just meditation from 3:30 in the morning until 10 at night. And, you know, it's just, you know, the time just goes, you know, it's like you sit down and all of a sudden a week goes by. And, you know, you learn a skill there. I mean, I felt like in some ways, like that skill is kind of useful in a way. And that I remember like someone saying something to me that I could just turn away from it and not have it affect me, you know, because it was because I could, though I can't do that with you know, people that are close to me.
I'm going to say one more kind of crazy thing. There's something called the deathbed test. And you always ask yourself, if I were on my deathbed, would I be happy with how I've handled things to date? And having watched a lot of people die, I can tell you that what comes up is what we're not looking at. And it comes up loud and strong in the last bit of time because it wants to be seen. So, you know what Zen is, practice dying. That's what we're doing on one level. It's the death and birth, and all of it's connected through the vertical, which goes through the center of your heart. And it connects that. So just another incentive to chase the rabbit a little bit.
Yeah, or the elephant or the
whatever. Maybe it may be a flea. It may be tiny compared to what you think it is. You never know till you.
Yeah.
How are you, Lisa Jane, feeling about this discussion when it kind of relates to you in a way, eh?
Yeah. Eric, you had me crying too. I could totally feel it. Yeah, brought up stuff.
So
Not
Lisa,
even so much thoughts, because the thoughts would start to come and I just kind of stopped them because I don't have the energy to go down that freaking rabbit hole today. But I could feel it, you know.
so how are you coping with the chemo?
I had to take a little ambulance ride yesterday. It's done. Same thing that happened last time. It's toxic to me, and I think our medical system here is imploding. So it's hard to get an answer, but it seems like I'm having cardiac artery spasms from it. Because as soon as I get in the ambulance and get nitroglycerin, I'm fine. Kind of. But I'm pretty sick. Kind of got like a fever and I don't know.
So you're having chemo?
Yeah, I've had breast cancer stage 4 for like 16 years. So
I think
a lot of medical
that's
trauma. A lot.
I think that's the other hard part, having a child going through chemo is that, I mean, it's killing them, and it comes out through their pores. It comes out through your eating. It's just horrible, and it's so the fact that you're going through that is just I can feel that it's just a hard thing. So
Listening to you, what it brings up for me is this has been really, really hard for me. I have 3 boys, and I was a single mom, and my family sucks. So it's just me and the boys. But especially in the early years, I was so grateful that it was me and not one of them. And that fear, like listening to you talk, it still comes up. It sparks that, like, what if this happens to one of my kids? It's terrifying. I feel ya.
My stuff is easy. What you're going through is real.
My aunt had a cat, and when she was getting chemo and her hair fell out, the cat's hair fell out. The cat used to lay on her chest.
I've been staying with my friend since like last January. I tanked doing a clinical trial, and it's been really interesting staying here because I never ever in a zillion years, and I think I've said this before, would have freely chosen to come back to North Idaho at this point in time, but I didn't really have a choice. And it's almost like I'm being refamilied, staying with my friend and her family, like her whole extended family. They just love me and accept me for who I am. And it almost feels like that's the universe, like kind of stepping in. And because I had a lot of trauma in my childhood. And so, but anyways, this is their dog, and he's so cute. I mean, look at him. His name is Cheech. I mean, he's adorable.
What's his name?
Cheech. Like Cheech and John. But he's the biggest asshole. I mean, he's so cute. But he bites like he bit the EMT in the palm of his hand. So we're in the ambulance and they're trying to get a glove on the EMT because he's still bleeding all over, and they got all the pads on me. And
the dog was probably protecting you. He thought the EMT was hurting you. Yeah.
Well, that's been his job. He guards me. He's got some psychological issues, but so do I. So we get along great.
So do we all.
Yeah. Yeah, one time I was laying in the backyard, and I think I told you guys about this. There are all these butterflies that were kind of swirling around, and it was so cool. But he started protecting me from them. When they get close, he'd growl at them. It's pretty cute.
It is interesting what you say, that the parental bond is stronger than you're more worried that if it were to happen to them than you are about yourself. And yet it is happening to them in some way by watching you.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't do anything about it.
All three of my kids have PTSD. I mean, we all do from it. It is rough, you know? And the way we handle cancer in this society and the way that it's treated. And I mean, we got it all wrong, you know, but it's taken a while to kind of figure that all out.
And I think too that when we have a child that we're worried about even more than ourselves, we also end up not feeling all our feelings because we want to be strong for them, or we want to show them we're not frightened, and so all the little pieces of that get repressed. Like, I love him so much and I'm so afraid he's going to die, or I love my mother so much and I'm so afraid she's going to die. And that just and then the effort on top of it to appear not afraid and to be the leader of the family, whatever. And then just the frozenness of the trauma in the body when the feelings aren't expressed, when they're just not allowed to be fully felt. And I too, I just was on a retreat with Violet, and a lot of emphasis, which I completely support, on being with the body, being with the sensations, being with the feelings, accepting everything, resisting nothing, feeling it till it's till it disappears, till it, or allowing it to be there for the rest of its life if it needs to. Whatever allows one to just feel fully what is felt. And as one who was chasing enlightenment mentally for many years, trying to get away from my anxiety, trying to talk myself into practices and meditations and understandings that were away from the feelings, I just know that over these months, it's just been so much clearer just to go toward them, feel it all to the bone, and allow it all. And like this last couple of days, I've been noticing cravings and aversions. And so it's like in a way that I never understood before. And it's the doorway, as Leela said, it feels like just the doorway to all of the spiritual understandings that other people have had and shared that I never got except for in my head. They get cleared up in feeling, like all that craving, all the aversion of feeling, all the craving for good feelings and still feeling, oh, I don't deserve pleasure, having to look through all the belief systems, feel it all. Like, for example, just share that somebody else was being facilitated by Alma. It's beautiful Alma, this young girl. And I could see at the base of me was just this, and it was such a surprise, even though I knew it in my head. I had this such a strong feeling of, I'm on the wrong planet. I'm on the wrong planet. I'm supposed to be in, there's another planet where there's peace and harmony. And I don't belong here. I just don't belong here. And it was so visceral and it didn't make any sense, but it just cleared up, just going into the feeling and just being with it to the bone, just gave me a clarity and a peace. And it's just new insights. I don't even know what it gave me, but I can say that I just feel better. And I think it's at this point, it seems to me, and maybe it's because I've been so imbalanced with the head, but right now it just feels like, just feel it all, accept it all, love it all. Be happy if it's these feelings that are so-called negative are going to be here for the rest of your life. Feel it, just be with it, and don't be afraid to just feel it, the good, the bad, so to speak. Yeah.
What
And
if
I
you
learned
can't?
something about duality too. Sorry, so what'd you say?
I just said, what if you can't? Like everybody always says, just feel it and feel it all and go to the bottom of the well. But like for me, when Eric was talking and when everybody was encouraging him to go deeper and to let it out and to really feel it, I was feeling my own stuff. And then, and I could feel the tears coming. But then it went from that to where I wanted to break that window in front of me, And then it was like, I want to burn that house down, like the rage that's underneath. And then it's like, you can't. And it's like the veil comes down and it's gone. And the tear, everything, I feel nothing. And that happens all the time. People say, like, when you're meditating, when you're quiet, and it just shuts down because it's so big.
It is big. And I think it's beautiful that you were aware of all that. You watched it. And there's something to be said for loving yourself, for seeing what you saw. You saw the rage, you saw the overwhelm, and you saw it shut down. And that may happen again 10,000 times, or it may not. It may not always happen that way. I just think there's something to be said for all of it can be seen and all of it could be welcomed and all of it can be loved in some way, because that rage was overwhelming to us as children. We just had to shut it down. Perhaps with wisdom and age, something shifts next time. And it's like, oh, this rage is so frightening to me, so overwhelming. And as a child, I couldn't feel it. But perhaps now I'll move toward it and I won't be as afraid. Perhaps.
The question Pernille asks, Pernille Danmore, she says, can I be in the body? That's the only inquiry. You don't need to know where it comes from, what it's about, any of that stuff. Can I be in a body that feels this much rage? Can I, who am I scaring? Like, and just keep feeling into it. Like, can I, without distracting or avoiding, just go another little notch each time?
And when it can't be with it, can I be in a body that
Well,
can't?
the answer is no, then it's no for now. But then it's a little self-love, it's a dose of self-love, and next time it shows up, because rage is on top of grief. Rage is very much the sentry at the door of sadness. And I was going to say another thing to
For me,
you.
I feel like it's flipped around. Like the grief and the sadness have been covering up the rage.
Yeah, maybe, but there's another layer. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter. Whatever isn't being felt wants to be felt. That's all. In what I noticed in my 35 years of taking care of breast cancer patients, was the common valence, the emotional valence was what's called a nurturance barrier. And you're describing it as you say, I wasn't mothered, I had no family, my family sucked, and now this family has taken me in, and I feel like I'm being refamilied. It's the inability to take in, to absorb, because it was so toxic as a child, yeah. Or the inability to take in love from people who want to help you.
Yep, totally.
That is such a classic breast cancer wound.
No trust, you know, always waiting for that other shoe to drop, you know, and because you got to be ready for it.
Vigilance.
Yeah. Don't sleep. Yeah. And I've had a lifetime of therapy. It's just,
yeah, but therapy, like I said, the therapy doesn't do it. It's this.
It just cements it in. Yeah, I got lots of stories from therapy. Lots of stories.
But then you get angry because
it doesn't help anything.
Yeah, and maybe you're angry that nobody's seeing you or nobody's hearing the truth of it. You know. Anyway, I mean, when you didn't tell Eric that you've been meditating for like what, 50 years, twice a day.
Yeah, monasteries, the works.
She loves the peace. You know, you were describing the peace, Eric. She's been hiding a long time in that little beautiful meditative state. Yes.
Actually, I can't say that it was always beautiful. In fact, I was a lot of judgment that it should have been more beautiful because everyone else was saying presence was beautiful and I was anxious. So I kept trying to get to the bottom of everything. But I was getting to the bottom with a judgmental mind. What's wrong with you? How am I going to get rid of you? I'd really like this anxiety to stop. And so subtler and subtler levels of judgment that kept it all in place. And so learning something, beginning to learn something about allowing and accepting has been, and feeling all the feminine, the nurturing, just what you said to at least Jane, just learning what it means to just take in love from the trees and from nature, and just feeling like one deserves it, and that the world is just loving you, and it is. It's just that I was so in my something's wrong and I have to fix it. I'm on the wrong planet and I've got to be in a better place. Because of all of that kept me from being here and being in my body and allowing the pain of trauma, etc., to just be here, and knowing that it wasn't going to kill me and I could just face it straight on. That's what helped, I think. I don't know. I don't actually know everything that helped, but there are good people that helped me too. People here, and Todd, and Miss Leela, Mr. Vince.
True
Not that I'm
confession.
anywhere.
I confess to you guys that I'm talking to you, but I am very much a beginner with some of this very deep trauma stuff too. And I relate to you, Lisa Jane, very much. Part of why I spent my life around breast cancer patients is I felt that wound daily. I felt that wound daily.
You know, it's interesting. I think that one of the reasons why I've survived so long, because most people don't, you know, everybody else I've known has died, is because of my kids, because I was so terrified that if I died, that they were going to have to go back and live with my family. And that couldn't happen. It just couldn't. So it didn't, you know. And I mean, and I don't think that was me. I think that was a combination of maybe me getting a break. I don't know. But
well, if you could stay alive for your kids, why don't you stay alive for yourself now?
That's been the big question, because they're like all gone, you know, and like I lost that purpose. And it's been interesting.
Well, whatever miracle you worked by staying alive with stage 4 cancer for whatever years, that which is a miracle, I must say. You can, that isn't you personally, the little LJ that did that, but whatever did that can do miracles, you see.
Yeah,
not that
I've had some
not
pretty
that
crazy
you want to stay,
experiences. That's what brought me
not that
here, you know.
I don't want to assume that you want to stay alive either, because that's an assumption that it's not always correct. But if you want to, you can.
Something I've been looking at, you know, and I do. I want to be able to experience things differently in this life. And I want to get better so I can advocate for other people in our medical system so they don't have to go through that hell that I've been through. I don't know what that looks like or if that's even possible, but I feel pretty strong about that one.
I love your dog there, Vincent. These dogs are angels.
He loves my salt, I think.
I think he just loves you.
This one's an alcoholic dog. She can't control her liquor.
Very funny.
Oh, look at that.
How about you, Sandra? How's things been for you?
I'm just tired. just being here. Just had well basically that's what I to now, just being. And yeah, and well, the discussion today was moving me along, or moving the energies, whatever. And it was, well, if you can say so, was feeling very, very good, like very authentic. So I really, really appreciate the space here. Yeah, and other than that, I really just observe life. And I don't know when it was, 2 weeks ago or something, when we had the little discussion of again, semantics that we use, like when I realized that the term witnessing gets me to separation. So I really use exactly that, was what Win said, going towards things, just have the, not even the engagement of doing, of going towards, but just this readiness of experience whatever is there. And I just, it's just, everything is just happening. It's just beautiful how it is. And I see myself things doing where I normally would have a judgment on, like before, and wouldn't do that. And yeah, so for now it's really smooth, so to speak. It's just what is. And yeah. And yeah, now that I think about it, I had a funny experiment this week. And I could really, really observe what was happening. So I switched from my normal vegan diet to a keto vegan diet. And it was so funny observing the thoughts coming up, still in a huge battle, whether I'm doing it or not, whether I should do that or not. And I already do that. It's like so obvious that the thoughts, that the story is always coming after. Like, it's just, life is just happening, and we just create the story. And then I was battling again, like, should I stop or not? While I was already stopping it again. And it was just, yeah, it was so, yeah, it was in a way funny again, like life's funny now. And yeah, I don't really have to share much today. Just appreciating.
Right. Yeah. Sounds good. Well, we're just coming up for 3 hours, so I think it's time to shut down for today. It's kind of a joke, but real life calls.
You mean golf?
No, it's not golf day for me. Yeah. Yeah, there are domestic duties to be done. Yeah, it's been a good meetup. I love it. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I look at all these pixels on the screen, all this color, and I just feel overwhelming love for you guys. Love it. Thank you. Okay. See you
Well,
all.
thank you all. You've all been amazing.
You too. Thank you, James. Yeah.
Thank you, Vince. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.